kind of relationships that we talked about. Authority figures was one of them. It turned on me. Was there another one?
Parents.
Parents, yep. Parents and leaders and teachers was one. You have me. Check.
Check, check. The Brittany mic does work. Friends was last week. So we have one relationship left then, right? And it's the dreaded relationship, right? That parents don't want to talk about. So we're gonna talk a little bit about significant others tonight. So this is what we said over the last couple months. I'm sorry, this thing is driving me crazy. Can you guys hear me if I have it right there? Is that good? Is that quiet? Perfect. Or is that better? All right, I'm just gonna leave it, and we're gonna trust that that's working. So these are the three broad ways that we said that we can idolize people. Either we worship who they are, we worship who they want them to be, or who we want them to be, excuse me, or by defining their worth by our own needs. So that was the rubric that we used, and all of the relationships that we talked about had in some way used one or more of those things. This is what we said last week. When we become emotionally dependent on our peers for popularity, role models, or companionship, we idolize them. Or when we keep non-Christians as our closest friends. And again, we said we're not saying that we don't have non-Christian friends. We're just saying that our closest friends should be our Christian friends, because they're the ones that have a strong influence on us when we're close with them. So that's where we were. And tonight we're going to close with S.O.s, significant others. Okay, and hopefully we will tie everything together nicely. So, but when it comes to that rubric, I think everything that we're going to talk about tonight really falls under that third one. That when we idolize significant others, when we idolize, our crush, or whoever that person is that we're really interested in, we're really doing the third one. We are defining their worth by our needs when we elevate that person. So we're defining their worth by our needs, and this is what I left you guys with last week. We idolize peers when we prioritize our friends of the same sex, and I know that rocked the boat a little bit for some of you guys, because some of you guys have really close friends of the opposite sex, and that's okay. We're gonna talk about that, okay? And also keep in mind too, I understand not everybody in this room is dating somebody. That's okay. This lesson is still applicable to you, because you can do any one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, and practice that same kind of idolatry. So some of the excuses that I've heard for people who they have a best friend who's of the opposite sex, and they're like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. They say things like, I have nothing in common with my, if you're a guy, I have nothing in common with my guy friends, or I have nothing in common with my girlfriends. I get along with girls better than I do with guys. I get along with guys better than I do girls. I don't, if you're a girl, maybe you're tired of drama. You don't want drama, so you hang out with boys because boys are less drama prone, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily true or not. We just kind of keep that inside, I guess, or something like that. We're gonna break some stereotypes tonight, okay? So we prioritize friends of the opposite sex, which is something that I did. So I want to make sure that I am talking about everything we talk about tonight from personal experience. So I want to make sure we hit all these things. So we prioritize friends of the opposite sex. Point number one: your dating relationship, it is special, right? There's something about that relationship that sets it apart from other relationships. Girls, you meet that guy and you're like, oh, he's so cute, and he's so smart, and he makes me feel dumb, and he's so funny, and he fits all of these criteria. He makes me think about unicorns and rainbows, and it became a Lucky Charms thing really quickly or something. Guys are like, dude, this girl, man, this girl, dude, I can't even, words, dude, this girl, okay. There's something special about this person, right? Gives you the flutteries. Your heart is going fast. You feel warm all over, that kind of thing. Even on a hormonal level, there's something different about this person that you appreciate more than other people. So when you get into the dating relationship, there's something special about it. There's a natural closeness that kind of develops there. There's a tenderness that develops there. These are things that happen when you're dating somebody. It's also, it's special because it's an opportunity for you to learn how to conduct yourself, right? Relationship building, all these kinds of things, okay? So your dating relationship is special, but, and here's the point, we should not allow our dating relationships to affect our other friendships. Our dating relationship should not affect, eclipse, or replace your other friendships. And when you practice this, when you have it in mind that, okay, I'm dating somebody, but I'm not going to allow this dating relationship to ruin my other friendships. You just protect your relationships. You're able to have, all of your friends and not make anybody upset. You're not going to do this to your friends, right? The problem is that when you're dating somebody, we have a tendency to become exclusive or reclusive. What does it mean to be exclusive? What does exclusive mean? You're leaving somebody out. I gotta take this off. It's hot up here. You're leaving somebody out if you're being exclusive. So maybe your boyfriend or your girlfriend says, "I don't like that friend of yours, so we can't hang out with them anymore." All right? It happens. That's a way to be exclusive. What does it mean to be reclusive or reclusive? You guys heard of the brown recluse? It's a spider. I'm sorry, Paige, say that again. Yeah. So in this instance, you don't even bother trying to keep your friends. You're just like, I love this person, and we're gonna go and do our happy little thing and never talk to anybody again, right? This is probably being exclusive as opposed to reclusive because you're at least sitting on a park bench with them. Although it looks like they're sitting by a graveside. It kind of makes me think they're sitting in a graveyard. But anyway, when you allow yourself to protect your other friendships, you don't let your dating relationship ruin the other friendships that you have there. And by the way, guys, a girl who insists that she should be more important than your guy friends is manipulative. She's manipulative. And think about this: if she manipulates your time, if she manipulates you with guilt, what else is she going to manipulate you about? Money. You didn't have to shout things out, but that works too. The rhetorical question. She's going to manipulate other things in your life, okay? Girls, if a guy insists he should be more important than your girlfriends, he's controlling. And if he is controlling over your time, what else is he going to be controlling over? These are things we do when we allow ourselves to elevate our dating relationships to influence our other friendships. So your dating relationship is special, but it shouldn't affect your other friendships. Until you marry, I'm gonna draw a line here in the sand. Until you marry, your significant other should not be your closest friend. Okay? This is not like, I don't have a Bible verse and passage for you to quote on this one, but from personal experience and from watching other relationships, you gotta be careful that when you're dating somebody, as you date somebody longer, you get closer and closer together, obviously. But you gotta be careful that you're not developing a mini marriage before you are married. Does that make sense? We'll talk about that a little more. The reason why you don't want one reason why you don't want your boyfriend or girlfriend to be your best friend is the fact that dating is impermanent, right? Dating is impermanent. Anytime you date somebody, there's a chance that is not going to end so well. Okay? Regardless of how good it is in the beginning, breakups are hard, and even when breakups are amicable or like you're friendly, it's just not working out. It's still hard because there's a person that meant something to you who's no longer there anymore, whether or not you're the one breaking up. So give me some things that are permanent. What are some things that are permanent? Marker is, unless you apparently pour milk on it. Yeah, if you pour milk on permanent marker, it'll come out of anything. That's what I've been told. Don't try it on the couch though, because that looks really stink. Other permanent things. Tattoos, you know what? Tattoos are permanent. Children are permanent. Are you saying children are a permanent consequence of dating poorly? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, definitely true. Other things that are permanent.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh, okay. Now we're gonna get metaphysical here. The Bible, God's word does remain forever. Yes. So how about this? Would you say that is permanent or impermanent? I hear some permanent.
It decreases over the years.
It does decrease over the years. Erosion, things of that nature. Here's the deal. Unless there's another flood, which God promised there wouldn't be, or you've got dwarves digging for mithril, you're probably not going to move this mountain. Okay, that mountain is pretty permanent. They're For barring unforeseen circumstances or people building transcontinental railroads, that mountain is probably permanent. How about this? Permanent or impermanent? That is true. But the cast itself is probably impermanent, right? Even if the bone heals the wrong way, at some point the cast is going to come off. How about this? Permanent or impermanent?
What is that?
At this point, that has surpassed pimple and become boil. But permanent or impermanent?
That may be.
It probably will be a permanent scar, and he's probably going to have that surgically removed. But anyway, probably impermanent. Probably impermanent. How about this? Speaking of tattoos, that's pretty permanent, and that was just a really bad decision for the record, because he went to a person who couldn't draw.
Looks like Ronald McDonald.
It does look a little bit like Ronald McDonald, but it's Mama. It's Mama. So, that is something that is fairly permanent. Listen. Dating is impermanent. Even if it ends, if a breakup is amicable, it's still hard. And so we have to be aware of the fact that because that relationship is not in marriage, we don't treat it like one. We don't treat it like a marriage. Your dating relationship is special. Obviously, there's something special about this person. You're drawn to them for some reason or another. But it shouldn't affect your other friendships. In other words, it shouldn't cause you to stop being friends with somebody else because you care more about that person. And until you marry, your significant other should not be your closest friend. You're setting yourself up for all kinds of emotional instability if you base all of your emotions on this person. And frankly, when you practice a kind of dating relationship that pushes people away, when that relationship does end, all of a sudden you have nobody to turn to for support, for encouragement, for help. I mean, where do you go when you pushed all your other friends away and then all they can say is, well, I told you that this relationship was no good. So, got to be careful that we don't do these things. And by the way, when you do get married, your significant other should be your best friend. It should be. That's the way it should be. I don't want to go down that trail too much just because it's off topic, but there's a number of ways that we do dating wrong, and one of them is that we try to we go the opposite direction with this, and we want to maintain space, right? So like man cave kind of thing, right? I want to have things that are mine. She has things that are hers, and we don't touch those things because we want to maintain some sense of independence. That kind of mentality leads to a marriage where there is no friendship. So there's different things, and then when we jump into it right away and we're best friends while we're dating, a lot of times that can lead to some eventual drifting later on in life once you finally get married and the rosiness of it is no longer there anymore. So just some things to be aware of. But your dating relationship should not be your best friend relationship until you actually marry that person. And that's not again a Bible verse, but that's where I would draw the line. And it's we could debate that, but I think that in the interest of preserving our emotional well-being, our spiritual well-being, our physical well-being even, we need to be careful of how much emotional stock we place in our dating relationships, okay? You guys with me on that? Even if you disagree, you with me on that? All right? Cool. Number two, and this one we had this point last week. We become emotionally dependent on this person. And that's the way we idolize them as a person. And for all the same reasons as our peers, right? We idolize them for self-worth and companionship and comfort and identity. And again, we start treating our dating relationships like mini marriages. How many of you guys have seen God's Not Dead? Cool. Can you pull up, I have a video clip. We're gonna watch. And yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a montage I put together of the three conversations they have, and there's way too much to talk about. In this, we could spend like weeks talking about this alone. But anyway, let's watch this.
So the answer's simple: drop the class.
Yeah, but I'm not sure I can do that. I feel like God wants someone to defend him.
Don't be ridiculous.
I don't know. I just keep thinking of that C.S. Lewis line. Only a real risk tests the reality of belief.
So you're gonna risk our future over your yearbook quote? Josh, why am I here? Hello? Earth to Josh. Why am I salutatorian of our graduating class here at my third choice school? I'm sorry for having the next 50 years of our life planned out, but that's just who I am.
I don't care. It's just...
Josh, I love you, but I absolutely forbid you to go up against this professor in his own classroom. We have too much at stake. The whole thing's rigged to make you look like an idiot. And if you want to get into law school, you can't afford to flunk this class. Even a C could be disastrous. Hey, babe. Babe, where have you been? Did you turn your phone off?
More like I forgot to turn my phone on.
Do you know what day it is?
Thursday?
Anything else?
Well, the 13th? Happy anniversary. 6 years ago, your youth group collided with mine.
You remembered.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna celebrate. You remember how we met?
Newsboys.
They're gonna be in town next Friday.
You are amazing. Which is why I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I know I came off probably way too strong yesterday. You know, I get concerned when outside things start coming between us. You get that, can't you?
Sure.
Forgive me?
Always. Just need a...
Well, that can't all be statistics. Josh, please tell me you haven't been spending all your time on that philosophy thing.
Not all of it. Okay. Most of it.
Josh, that's not funny. It's really not.
Look, this is something I want to do, okay? I don't understand how it comes between us.
Josh, everything you do is about us. Okay, we're a team. We were, what, 6 years going on forever, right? It means your grades, your whole future. Yeah, I'm a part of that. I don't see how this is contributing to our future.
Yeah, well, neither do my parents or anyone else in my life.
What should that tell you if every single person that loves you is saying the exact same thing? Josh, I'm letting you know now for your own good. This experiment is over. You need to prioritize and decide who's the most important person in your life. Me? Professor Radisson.
What if it's God?
God wants you with me. So it's the same answer. Just return the book to the library, sign the stupid paper, and move on. A year from now, we'll look back on this and laugh. We're not in high school anymore. The decisions you make now have real consequences. Josh. Josh, this is serious.
No.
You did it, didn't you?
What?
You know what I'm talking about. You went and did your argument, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
What were you trying to prove? I'm not even sure there are words to describe what I'm feeling right now. I'm sorry, Josh, but it's over between us.
That's it? What, it's over?
It's over, Josh. If you're gonna do something this stupid and selfish after I already told you what would happen...
Yeah, but that's sort of the point, isn't it? This is something that's important to me. Right, but since it's not important to you, you made it a make it or break it thing for us. You didn't ask me. You told me. It wasn't a decision that we made, it was a decision that you made for the both of us.
Somebody had to.
Okay.
That's it? Okay?
It's not what I want. Honestly, I'm still hoping you'll change your mind. Right, but I have to do this thing. I feel like it's something that God wants me to do. I can't just turn away from it. Especially not now that I've started.
My mother was so right about you. Just wish I'd had the sense to listen.
All right, so she says a number of things. I mean, like I said, there's way too much to address in that to like actually, you know. she's a very manipulative girlfriend. Let's be honest about that. She says, I'm part of your future, so you have to do everything for our future. There's no ring on her finger, right? This is not a marriage. This is a dating relationship. She says, and then when he says she says, who's the most important person in your life? And she says, you have to choose between me and Professor Radisson. He says, what if it's God? And she says, God wants you with me. We're presuming an outcome. She's saying it is. I know what God wants for us, and it is for us to be together. And then she ultimately just accuses him of being completely selfish for doing something noble. They are emotionally dependent upon each other. Although Josh is definitely strong enough to say, no, this is enough of that. But anyway, the justification process plays heavily into this. We become, and actually, really, we could kind of think of the points tonight as like a funnel. Like one thing leads to the next thing, to the next thing. So, we prioritize our friends of the opposite sex. Then, after we start getting, we've elevated this person, we've excluded some other people, and now I'm best friends with this person. I'm emotionally dependent upon him or her. Like, this is my closest friend. I confide in this person, my deep secrets that I want to spend all my time with them. And then finally, we end up at justification. And we even can go to the point where we begin to justify immorality for this person. We get to the point where all of a sudden this person matters more than anything, and so I can compromise my morals, I can compromise my beliefs, I can compromise anything to maintain this relationship, to keep this relationship. And here's some of the excuses we use, right? We're committed to each other, so it's okay. We're going to end up married, so what's the point of waiting? We're committed to each other. Or we're not going all the way, so it's okay. Again, we're putting the cart before the horse. We're assuming we're going to end up in the same place. My parents are okay with it. Probably not, but my parents did the same thing. You could look at your parents' example and make the justification that this is what they did, so they can't be mad at me. This is okay for me to do. My friends are excited for us. They were rooting for us to get together. They thought we were perfect together, and so we're dating now. And the natural next step is sexual intimacy. So they're excited for us. It's okay. Or my girlfriend or my boyfriend says it's what makes our relationship special. I'm not sleeping with anybody else, so that's what makes our relationship unique. These are maybe to you guys, and I would hope that these seem like really radical things to say. But when you travel down that path, your compromises become more and more easy as you go. It's a very slippery slope that you end up on. It's a very dangerous slope, and you find yourself in this place where you never thought that you could possibly end up. We justify immorality when we idolize this person. And so you can say, Justin, there's no verse in the Bible that says don't have sex before marriage. So go ahead, say that to me. Justin, thank you. We're on the same wavelength because I wanted to go there. Okay. There is no verse that says that sexual activity before marriage is sinful. There's no verse that says don't have sex before marriage. However, there is this. Hebrews 13:4 says, "Let marriage be held in honor among all, and let the marriage bed be undefiled. For God will judge the sexually immoral and the adulterous." In other words, the marriage bed is the context for proper sexual activity. And outside of that, it is either adultery, meaning you're married and you're having sex with somebody that's not your spouse, or you're being sexually immoral, whether you're unmarried and doing something else, or that covers the entire spectrum of sexual sin right there. Anything outside of the marriage bed is judged as sexual immorality. Sexual activity of any sort before marriage is sinful. We say we're not going all the way, so it's okay. Sexual activity of any sort outside of marriage is sinful. So there were two wealthy brothers. They set out one Christmas to purchase the very best Christmas present that they could find for their mother. The search for this present became so fierce that the two brothers turned it into a contest to see who could find the most unique and extraordinary present that was available. One brother thought he had found the perfect present. He found a zerka bird. Now the Zerka bird, I'll tell you all about the Zerka bird. It's no ordinary bird. It's a very rare and special bird. It costs many thousands of dollars, and it had to be flown in from the Amazon. It could speak 5 different languages. It could recite beautiful poetry and sing opera. It was an amazing bird. Amazing bird. So the brother paid dearly for the Zerka bird. He wrapped it carefully and had it sent to his mother for Christmas. On Christmas Day, he gave his mother plenty of time to wake up, eat breakfast, and open his gift, but finally he could wait no longer. He called his mother, and when she picked up the phone, he almost shouted into the phone, "Mother, Mother, what did you think of the beautiful Zerka bird that I sent you?" On the other end of the line, the mother replied, "Oh, son, it was delicious." It was delicious. We treat something sacred as something common when we engage in sexual activity before marriage. We don't know how special something is, that something is, when we take it out of its context and use it for something that it was not intended to. The same way, the Zerka bird is supposed to be this beautiful bird that is supposed to be enlightening and to bring joy and entertainment and comfort, and she ate it. She didn't know what it was for. We do the same thing with sexual activity when we engage in it in the wrong way. Sexual activity before marriage is sinful. But note this, sexual sin is destructive. Sexual sin is destructive. This is my favorite passage that deals with this. This is from the book of Job. So you guys know from our summer study last year, Job went through everything, trying to figure out what he did wrong, that he deserved God's punishment for something. Which he didn't, because he was Job 1 says that he was the most righteous man who lived. And yet he arrives at this place and is eliminating from the list of possible sins the sin of lust. So he says, "I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a virgin? What would be my portion from God above and my heritage from the Almighty on high?" Jumping into verse 9, "If my heart has been enticed toward a woman and I have lain in wait at my neighbor's door, that would be a heinous crime. That would be an iniquity to be punished by the judges, for that would be a fire that consumes as far as Abaddon, so the name of hell, and it would burn to the root of all my increase." Job says the sin of lust, just the sin of desiring to have sex with a woman, in a virgin, or a woman who's not his wife, that's a fire that will consume everything there. Sexual sin is destructive. I feel like when I think of sexual sin, I think of the ivy that grows on the side of my house. And its little roots sink into the brickwork, and I gotta yank it out, and I pull pieces of brick and mortar out with it because it just sinks in there. It's a vine that is very destructive, and it sinks in and it's difficult to remove. Do you guys know how Eskimos kill wolves? The spears. That's my first guess too. With their bare hands would be awesome. Yes. Eskimo wolf hunters, they will take a knife, and they will coat it in animal blood. They'll stick it outside to freeze. Once it's frozen, stick it back in. Another layer of blood, let it freeze. And they do that until the blade is entirely coated with a thick layer of frozen animal blood. So it's a frozen animal blood popsicle, okay? They stick it out in the snow, blade up. And the wolves come, and they start licking the knife. They lick the knife and lick the knife and lick the knife. And finally, they don't realize they're drinking their own blood. And the Eskimos will go out and they'll find dead wolves because they don't know when to stop. They're drinking their own blood to satisfy their thirst. It's a little bit what sexual sin is like. When we start going down that path, and a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more, and finally you find yourself at the place where you don't even know how to go back. Because it is destructive. Yeah, as Job said, it will consume the root of my increase. It will consume everything that I own. Sexual sin is destructive, and finally, sexual sin ruins spiritual integrity. It's really, honestly, less about the sexual act itself than the fact that when you are engaged in immorality, it compromises every other area of your spiritual life. It's truly like a vine. It gets everywhere, and it's difficult to get it out. And again, even if you're not dating, you can struggle with sexual sin, right? Whether it's a problem with your eyes or your imagination, whatever it is. This is not something that is exclusive to dating couples, because purity is rooted in self-control. Pursuing purity, it's rooted in self-control. I love that passage from Proverbs. It says, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." Self-control in the area of purity is vital. Without it, you are defenseless. And so we need to really begin to practice sexual purity before we even pursue a dating relationship. In our minds, in our hearts, in our desires, in our actions, we need to be pursuing sexual purity even before we begin to date. And therefore, it becomes easier in that case when you've prepared yourself to know the temptations that are going to be there. Mental and spiritual preparedness are scriptural themes that assist in avoiding temptation, and you can quote verses from the Old Testament to the New Testament that talk about sober-mindedness and vigilance. 1 Peter isn't the only place where you find those ideas. Sexual sin ruins our integrity. This is from 1 Thessalonians. You ever hear somebody say, "I don't know what God's will is." I'm trying to figure out what God's will is. There's a couple verses in the Bible that just declare what the will of God is. This is one of them. This is the will of God, for your sanctification, that you abstain from sexual immorality. Verse 7 says, "For God has not called us to impurity, or has not called us for impurity, but in holiness." Holiness means set apart, by the way. There's no connection with that kind of immoral thinking. It's entirely a different thing. So that's it, guys. We prioritize our friends of the opposite sex. We shouldn't do that. Your dating relationship is special, but it shouldn't affect your other friendships, and until you marry, that person shouldn't be your best friend. There's just like a natural closeness that begins to develop the longer you date, the closer you get to marriage, and that's good. That's how it should be. But I think we should always be willing to evaluate how dependent upon this person we are until we finally stand at the altar. Because before that, we don't know what the Lord's plan is. We don't know if God needs to point us in different directions. And so we need to protect our sexual integrity as well as our spiritual and our emotional integrity. We become emotionally dependent upon him or her. We shouldn't do that. We justify immorality for him or her. These are all ways that we practice idolatry when we are dating somebody. That's what I've got for you guys. I hope this series was helpful for you guys. I'm gonna hang out up here if you guys want to talk about this or about any of the previous weeks. We can do that. But other than that, I'm gonna pray, and you guys are free to go. So.